Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, and welcome to the Psych Legal Pop Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. I'm Brooke Brigham. I'm the attorney.
And I'm Tess Brigham. I'm the therapist.
And we are here today to talk about the last two episodes of Love is Blind, Season 5. We have episode 10, which is called Big, Big Love. And then we have episode 11, which is the reunion.
Mm-hmm.
And, this has been a weird season.
Yes, it has. Well, your predictions, I can't remember what I said, but your predictions were right.
Yes, my predictions were correct.
Yes, very good.
Yes.
Woohoo.
Pat myself on the back.
Yeah.
So episode 10 is the wedding episode.
Mm-hmm.
And we start with Izzy and Stacy.
Yes.
And they pull up to this venue that, looks very cookie cutter, like, what's that? Magnolia. What's that? Chip and Joanna game.
Oh, yeah. With the shiplap and
that style.
I never look. It's so funny. I never look at during these wedding things. I never look at like where they're going, what they're doing. Like I'm just so focused on what are they saying and their looks on their faces. So
yeah. Well, I was noticing because they both pulled up in like this. Well, first, Stacy pulls up in this kind of old-fashioned-y, old-timey car.
Mm-hmm.
And that was weird. And she has her jean jacket on that says bride on the back.
Mm-hmm.
And so then she goes inside and it's just one of those places that it's just not my style. It's very vanilla. Everything is just everything's white.
Yeah.
And it's just very clean and whatever. So anyway, she doesn't have any makeup on. She looks very different. She's like a totally different person.
Yeah, she does. She really does look different.
Yeah. She's just talking about just random stuff. She's talking about how Izzy's so hot and how great he is.
But did you catch that she said at one point, like, that looks don't matter to me? That's what I wrote down. I was like, really, Stacy? Looks don't matter to you? Oh, that's interesting.
Just like money doesn't matter to you?
Yeah. Like money doesn't. She did say looks don't matter to me. It's just, okay, whatever. Stacy.
Yeah. So, and then, and then after Stacy's going on and on, her sisters show up. And I'm confused by these sisters because when I first looked at them, I assumed that Stacy was the youngest because they just seemed older to me.
Yeah.
But then one of them had on a t-shirt that said little sister.
Mm.
And then there's also something came up later. I think it might have been in the reunion where Stacy was talking about she had gone to her sister's graduate school graduation.
That's right. Yeah.
So that means that Stacy's 33. This sister's probably in her 20s. I don't know why those sisters looks and Stacy's mom. I think Stacy has a different mom. Her
Then
mom
those
is
two.
yeah. Her mom's the one with the long blonde hair, and then there's the lady when they went over to her dad's house. I think that's the mother of the other two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they'd be younger.
Oh,
Anyway,
okay.
I don't know.
I wasn't really paying attention to any of those things. I was just fascinated by, I guess they were all ripping on him because his favorite restaurant is Chipotle.
Yeah. And she says he likes Chipotle and he just got a passport. Like
to go to Mexico for the
exactly
Love Is Blind.
for this show.
Yes.
Yeah. So these things are important to her.
Yes. So own it. God, Stacy, just own it. It's just, you want someone who's well traveled. You want someone who likes to go to, who has a higher palate. I mean, it's.
Nothing wrong with that.
I'm sorry. I don't know if I would marry someone who would want to go to Chipotle all the time. Chipotle's okay, but I get real sick of it real quick. I mean, I don't know. I think there's nothing wrong with saying that you want someone who has gone to school or who's of a certain level of intelligence. Like, why is that bad? I don't understand.
Yeah.
But then Izzy gets into the whole credit score thing and he's like, well, love has no price tag. Izzy's still confused about why Stacy's mad. And that is very, very scary. And that's why it was around this time that I'm like, you know what? Because he doesn't get this yet, she's not going to say yes.
Yeah.
Like she is not going to say yes because this is too scary for her because he doesn't get it.
Yeah. He's going through this whole thing again, saying he doesn't care about money. It's all about love. And it's like, well, you can tell yourself that, but that's just not reality.
I don't know. Who said didn't get all the information early on?
Yeah, I think Stacy
said that. Yeah. Because she gets into how different they are and how she didn't get all this information. She kept bringing it up. So that was my other indication. I'm like, oh, this is, this is a problem.
And you know what?
I'm with her on it.
It's not just Stacy. I just read a statistic like yesterday that said that it's over 50% of women, single women surveyed for this, said that they're single because they're having trouble finding a mate who basically makes at least as much money or more as them and is financially desirable and, desirable in other ways. And it's like, women don't want to have to take care of a man and work and take care of kids. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's too much.
Yeah, we've got too much to do. And I think I understand that, right? There's this idea of, well, didn't you all just want equality? And shouldn't it be, shouldn't women have always, gone after men for the money and for them to take care of them? And it's a little bit of like, yes and no. Yes, some people do that. I mean, there are people that very much like zero in and will only marry someone for money. But the reality is that women they're looking for someone who's going to show up and do work and work as hard as they're working.
Right.
And that's really what it is.
With everything.
With everything.
Childcare.
Whether it's childcare or whether it's, whether it's contributing to the house or the childcare or doing stuff around the house, women are exhausted. We are utterly exhausted. And we are so sick of men with their I'm babysitting, quote unquote, or like everyone being, oh, you're such a great dad because you took your kid to the park after, you've cleaned up puke and did 9,000 things. It's just, it's anyway.
Stacy is very pragmatic. She's very logical. Most of the time. Sometimes she gets a little, but I mean, about this kind of stuff, good for her. I think in the long run, she'll be happier because she will find someone eventually who checks all the boxes.
Yeah. Well, her mom says, don't ignore the red flags.
That's good advice.
And that was that. So then they get into this whole thing of like, Izzy needing to write a letter to Stacy.
And that wasn't even his idea. I think it was his best man's idea.
Or was it the producers? Because didn't you notice, didn't they do the same? Did they have Milton? Oh, Milton was writing his vows. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was like, didn't Milton write a note too?
Yeah, it was, and he wrote some goofy poem.
It was a poem. I'm like, ugh. She started reading it and I'm like, this would have been it for me.
Yeah.
The poem.
Cringy.
I would have been out.
Well, you could see it on Stacy's face this entire time when she's getting ready and with her family that she was struggling.
Yes.
And she was written all over her face. Yeah. And I was like, yep, she's not going to do it.
Yeah. Well, and also when she was walking towards with her father, and he's just, I mean, both of her parents were kind of at that point sort of checked out. Her dad's like, well, you got to do what you got to do. And okay, let's go. I mean,
let's get this over with.
Okay, I got to get home. I mean, it just seemed like he was, okay, this is what I need to do now. And I was like, oh, this guy's checked out. He doesn't think this is happening either.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they might have known. They might have been in on it.
But then first Izzy walks out, and I swear it looked like he was about to do a tight 10.
Yeah.
Like a
He's
comedy
at the comedy club. It's like, hey, everybody, thanks for coming. Oh my God, it's great to see you.
It was so awkward and weird. It was like, what? Huh?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Well, and Stacy, I thought she looked really beautiful. Her hair, her makeup, which was done by somebody else.
Yeah. Everyone seems to like it when someone else does her makeup versus when she does it.
Yeah. Because she gets a little too heavy on the bronzer or something. Because she has very fair skin. And she always just looks a little orangey or something. And, but I thought she looked great in the dress and everything. I thought she looked great.
So I never listen to what they say to each other up there. I'm always like, I'm just waiting for the yes or the no.
Get to the point. Yeah. And even when she walks down the aisle and she's up there with him and Izzy again, it says, hey, she looks great in this dress, right? He turns to the audience and it's like, oh my God, this is a wedding, this is like, take this. This is supposed to be a solemn ceremony.
Yes. Yes.
Gosh.
Well, so he answered first. He answered yes. And then she answered no. And you could tell just from the beginning of that first sentence, the way she said it, you were like, oh, this is definitely a no.
Oh, yeah. Because she says, I love you more than anything. That's always like the worst. If you start out like that.
I think you're great.
Yeah. She says, and I want to say yes to you, but I can't. I need time.
Yeah. And she's right. She's right. She needs time.
Yeah.
And so then it comes back to, why did she do the show? Right? Like you knew going into this that it was going to be this quick. It was going to be like,
well, I don't think that's what she meant. I don't think she literally meant, I think that was just an excuse. That was part
you don't think that?
No, because I think that was part of her excuse as to why she couldn't marry him. Like she kind of wanted to give him hope. She didn't want to totally crush him. So by saying, I need time, because she says, I want to say yes, but I can't. I need time. So instead of just, ripping off the Band-Aid, she gives him this false hope. She's trying to let him down easy. I don't think it had anything to do with the experiment, only being 1 month or whatever it is.
Okay. I thought that was her. I think that she really, really loved him and really liked him a lot. I think that she just felt so unsure about the money stuff with him that she just needed, when I heard her say time, I was like, yeah, you need time. You need time to see like what's going on here with this guy.
I don't think she had any intention.
So, but that's what I thought at the end. And we learned more about what happened between them on the reunion. But when it was over, right, she leaves and then he leaves and then they
kissed at the altar.
Oh, that's right. They did kiss. That's right.
Yeah, that was weird.
So he kisses her and he seems to be okay with everything in that moment. And then he comes down and his mom sits down and talks to him and she's great. I mean, she says all of the things that you're supposed to say, even very kind and loving. And then the two of them see each other. And I got the sense that from that conversation that Stacy was in this place of like, hey, let's date. Let's see what's happening. But he was so hurt and so upset that he was like, well, forget you. I'm out of here. But, Stacy, what I wrote down was that, Izzy doesn't understand. Izzy doesn't understand what's happening here. Right.
Yeah.
Like he seems so confused.
Yeah. He's very
so
confused.
And he just talks about like love isn't the Titanic. Who said that is unconditional? I'm like, what?
Yeah. Someone talked about the Titanic. I can't remember.
Or he watched the Titanic but Izzy was coming at everything from this place of this is love. Love is unconditional. We should.
Yeah, it shouldn't have anything to do with money or
money,
time. He's like, when is it ever going to be the right time? If I'm the one, what difference does a timeline make? And then he just starts feeling sorry for himself, and he's just saying stuff like, I'm so tired of feeling this way. And it's like, what way? Is he?
Really? Has it been that hard for you?
He's like, I just want to be loved the way I want to be loved. What's wrong with that? And it's like, well, because that's not love. That's a one-sided thing. It's like love. I want to be loved. Well, he's just kind of a spoiled brat.
Yeah. Well, he also, he says something else about how he's like, how love is unconditional and in this whole thing. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So the purity of loving someone, all those feelings that you have, like, yeah, I get what you're saying, Izzy, but love and marriage are two different things.
Right.
Like, and that's the thing that people have to understand. Like, love and marriage are not the same thing. She may love you.
Right.
She may have a great time with you. There may be a lot of chemistry, but she does not want to marry you because you do not tell the truth. Like, you do not understand what honesty, you don't understand honesty. Because he really, even on the reunion, he still doesn't understand.
Yeah. And I would argue that love between spouses or partners is not unconditional. You know, you can maybe say, your love for your child is unconditional, but if your child fucks you over enough, there's some people, they have that experience. But if someone lies to you, keeps secrets from you, is unfaithful to you, a laundry list of things, doesn't mean, well, I have to stay with this person and just deal with this because love is unconditional.
Yeah.
That's the dumbest. Yeah. What a dumb thing to say.
Izzy, if you want unconditional love, get a dog.
Get a dog.
I have too. And you know what? I'm telling you, they love me unconditionally. They love me morning, noon, and night. They love me no matter what I look like. They love me. That's it.
Yeah. He needs a puppy. He needs a puppy.
Yeah. Get a dog.
Because
if you want that,
wife,
your dog will give that to you. And it'll be real easy too. Because the dog doesn't care if you lie to him.
they don't know the difference.
You just have to have enough money to feed the dog and care for the dog. And that's it.
Yeah.
So oh God, he's
by the end of that, I was just like, oh God, I don't ever want to hear from this guy again.
You had a couple days later, you did. He had the reunion. So then we get to Lydia and Milton and done to that. So did they get married at this exact same place?
Yeah.
I wasn't even paying attention.
Yeah,
okay.
Same place.
So Lydia says that she is all in. She is all in. No concerns. Her friends are worried about the age. And, but she is all in.
Super happy, excited.
Very, very happy. Their last time they saw each other, they fought, but they made up. And, they're in such a better place. And she's full tilt boogie, ready to go.
Yep.
But then, of course, Milton decides not to take a day off from work. He's like, I worked all night.
He couldn't get a day off. For his wedding. Yeah, he worked all night, worked the night shift, went straight to the wedding venue, and he's not even tired.
Yeah. And he's just sort of like, well, I don't believe in 100% of anything. And he hasn't written his vows yet. And he's just kind of like everybody else is a Twitter around him. And he's just sitting there eating grapes, like, I just worked, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I was just like, okay. You go.
Yeah.
And I was starting to get a little nervous right there for Lydia. I'm like, oh, does Milton know what he's, I was just, he seemed way too casual.
I have a theory is that I think that the Milton we saw on the regular season was kind of an act.
Yeah, well, he admits that on the reunion. Yeah. He kind of played like a bro.
He played like kind of a dumb guy. Yeah. And because in the reunion, it is clear, whoa, this guy is way more intelligent emotionally and everything than, yeah. And I'm like, that was all an act.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think this is an act.
You think this is also part of his act?
Yeah.
For us, for the cameras?
Exactly. I don't believe he worked before. I think that's made up. I think, yeah, all the stuff where he's acting like, like a helpless, bumbling, whatever. I think it was all just for the camera.
Huh. I think the messiness and the leaving plates in random places,
Yeah,
I think that's very
probably
much him. I think that is him. And maybe not writing the wedding vows till the end. I think that might be him too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, he definitely is not, he obviously is the most intelligent person here. So, and then his dad shows up and brings him cufflinks. And he says something to him about being the head priest in your house.
Yeah.
Like,
and
okay,
he asks Milton, he's like, so any questions? and then he gives him this kind of real negative pep talk, where he says, you got to fight fair. And then Milton says, I know, I've seen more than enough fights between you and my mom, kind of thing. And he's like, well, I don't know. I mean, it's like, it's a very depressing talk.
Well, it was a weird, and you could tell they weren't very close. You got that sense. They both were uncomfortable. He's obviously not very close. Dad is still unsure about all of this. And it's just, to me, it seems like Milton's parents fought a ton growing up. And I think his way of dealing with them was to stop listening to them. And I think it just continues to today. You get the sense of like, when he's around them, he kind of tunes out a little bit. I think he's so used to, because they both have big personalities, as does the sister. And so I'm sure they were all fighting and on him constantly. And there was so much, expectations and judgment that I think he's just learned how to be like, okay, Dad. Yeah, sure. See ya.
Yeah, I'm sure that dad ruled with iron fist.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
Well, head priest of your
head
household,
priest of,
whatever that means.
Well, yeah.
What does it mean to be the head priest of your household? I mean,
well, yeah. And I also, I don't know, maybe, I don't think the dad's acting, but I also think that maybe Mom and Jessica were kind of playing it up for the cameras too, because when they got to the wedding part, they kept cutting her. She was like, oh, that's so sweet. And she was like, oh, when Lydia walks in, she's like, oh, it's like, wait a minute. You had all this, skepticism and almost, scorn for this person like a week ago. And now you're just so happy that they're getting married. And the mom was smiling. They were all smiling. First time we've seen them smile, and they all seemed happy.
Yeah.
Except the dad. But.
So we get to the altar, because I don't really have anything besides that, but they get to the altar and Lydia says yes, and Milton says yes. And then he kisses her too soon. he didn't wait for the ceremony to be over, and he kisses her.
Yeah.
And that's it. They got married, the one successful relationship.
Yeah. Well, and I was really moved by Lydia's family. Like, her brothers were crying, and, right before, she has another brother we didn't see before. He was there. He was like bawling the whole time. And then when Lydia and her mom, like before they came down the aisle, they were like, I love you, always, always, always. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to start crying. Like, that's just like... And then I guess you weren't very moved by any of this.
I really wasn't.
You're being very analytical.
I know. I wasn't. I guess I just kind of like, it feels like by this point in the show, I'm so like, okay, let's go. Because the wedding, honestly, the wedding episodes are only interesting to see if they say yes or no. Like we get no new information. They always do this thing. Let's interview you and then let's see your love story again. It's like, well, we've seen the love story, and it's not. This show isn't a show that's on over 6-month period where it was like, oh, we watched all that so long ago. Like, I just saw that a couple weeks ago. Got it. It's in my brain, and then, just the conversations, like everything is always, it's so formulaic, and it just, I don't know. I just find them so boring. So I'm always kind of like, let's go, let's find out.
Okay. Well,
sorry. I don't have a heart.
I don't know. I was kind of moved by this wedding, but anyway, So, yeah.
And then
so
they do this wrap up.
Well, they have their reception.
Oh, that's right.
I don't know. And again, they're just doing a lot of kissing and saying, I love you. And again, I think this might be acting. You know, he criticizes her English and she kind of treats him like a child. And I was getting a little worried because I thought, oh God, they're back to this. And I think, again, that's just part of their act because they did not act like that at all during the reunion.
Yes.
So.
No, you're right. You're right.
Okay. So I guess that was...
Well, we get a little bit of a roundup at the end of this episode. We get to see everybody again. So we see Izzy and we get Izzy, and Izzy, of course, does his whole thing like, I want to be loved the same way, love me the same way I love them. And then we get JP and Taylor again. Do you remember this? Like we get a little flash of JP. He admits that he has a hard time opening up.
Oh, where they just interview them.
Yeah, they're just sort of interviewing them.
Yeah.
And, he admits he has a hard time opening up. Taylor's wonders what would happen if she had stayed with him. I'm like, oh, Taylor. Of course, we have to see Uche again, and then Aaliyah and Johnny and Chris. I can't even remember what they said, but I was just like, they're really filling for time because we've never had one of these before.
Yeah, it was very short. They did both weddings and, just around an hour, maybe even under an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there were only 10 episodes. I mean, usually it's like 12 or 13 episodes. So they really didn't have a lot of content.
Yeah. Well, do we want to talk about the couple who actually went to the altar?
Yes.
But they scrapped them from the whole show. I'm not quite sure why. I heard a rumor about maybe why. But anyway, you remember Renee, who was there as part of the pod squad.
Yes.
With the long blonde hair. And then Carter, who was at the pool party.
Yes, he loves to fish.
Yeah. And I was just like, who is this guy? Why is he here? Well, apparently Renee and Carter got engaged. And they went through the whole experiment, moved in together, had the wedding. But I think they both knew they both, I think, had talked about that they were going to say no, but they had to go through with it anyway. And she said it was because, and I think this is when they had, I'm not sure if this was one before or after they had already determined that they were not going to say yes, that he brought another woman to their apartment.
I heard her say
Stacy saw them on the rooftop at the pool on the roof and told her. But I think at that point, I think they'd already called it quits and they were just contractually bound to just go through with it. So, okay, well then why didn't they show it? And then I heard that it was because Renee actually had a boyfriend when she went on the show.
Oh, did she? But I heard her on Kate Casey. So I don't. Did she say that? I don't remember
she did,
that on the interview. I was like, oh,
I don't think she's going to out there and say that. No, but she is she's married now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she says. So she makes it sound like right after she did this show, she met someone and now they're married. And it's like, oh, well, that was fast because even though this show was this is a year and a half ago now that this was filmed, that's, and most of the people, a lot of the people have moved on or dating other people, but
everybody's moved on.
Yeah,
everybody.
But to already be married, that was fast. So
yeah,
I don't know. There was obviously something shady about the relationship, why the show didn't want to air their story.
Yeah. So I wonder. I was kind of when I didn't realize, because I remember Carter, the fisherman, and I remember him from the pods. And then when I saw them at that barbecue, I didn't realize that it was those two. I knew Renee hadn't cut out, and I didn't know it was those two. And I just think they are such an odd pairing. I mean, she's a vet, right? Yeah. I mean, it just seemed like very different people and different interests. And, I thought that Carter was looking for someone he could go fish with. I thought he was looking for, someone like that. So it was just kind of odd that these two got together. But anyway.
Don't know.
Yes. So, well, I was reading on, Vulture writes a lot about, the show. And I was reading I think this came out either today or today. So this article in Vulture called The Highs, Lows, and Woes of Love is Blind Reunion. And, it goes through like who ended up on top, who was low, high. And one of the lows is Chris, who, we all thought was a great guy until the reunion. And we realized like, oh, Chris, you're just as shitty as everybody else. And so Chris's father is Martin Fox. Martin Fox was the middleman in the Operation Varsity Blues scandal.
Oh.
So his dad was Martin Fox, who he was the former president of a private tennis academy in Texas, right, in Houston. Basically, he introduced Rick Singer to Michael Senner, a tennis coach at the University of Texas. And so he was kind of like this middleman for Rick Singer. Like he helped between 2015 and 2018. Fox also agreed with Singer and others to facilitate cheating on the ACT and SAT college entrance exams. Fox funneled bribe payments from Singer to Nikki Williams, a test administrator for the ACT, SAT, for 4 of Singer's clients. So every time he did this, Singer gave him some money, and then he gave money to the proctor. So he was, I was just like, oh, that's very interesting. That's your dad?
Well, did he go to jail? I mean,
he did barely. I mean, basically it says he was sentenced to 3 months in prison and 15 months of supervised release, with the first 3 months to be home confinement. So I don't know if they were referring to the 15 months being home confinement, but he also has to complete 250 hours of community service. He has to pay back a fine of $95,000. And they found that he was paid $245,000 by Rick Singer. So he had to return that money as well.
Wow.
So he had to pay back like $350,000 and do 250 hours. And then 3 months, I guess he did the 3 months in jail. Prison, whatever.
Jail.
Yeah. So anywho, I was like, ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I can kind of see that because, but when we really got to know Chris, he's kind of a cocky little shit.
Yeah, he's not at all. He came across as just this sweet, aw shucks kind of guy. And it's like, oh, you're a dick. After we learned about him in the reunion, I was like, and you're just as bad as Izzy. Johnny's got a type.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, we'll get to him. Let's move on to the reunion.
Yes.
We see, again, this, we're now fast forwarding a year and a half. Mm-hmm. Milton and Lydia look great. They look very happy. It turns out Milton's family has just embraced her. Like, she and his mom are good friends, and they like the effect that Lydia has had on Milton, and he's improved with the towels, and they had a second wedding in Puerto Rico, and Nick or what's her name? Vanessa. One of them asked about long-term plans or something. And I can't remember what Lydia said, but Milton said that, he's working on their 401k and she's going to be very happy in the future. I'm just like, you know what? Yes, thank you. That's what you need. You need someone who is concerned about your future and building that 401k. Forget love.
Yeah, forget that.
Yeah, that's love. Someone's putting away money for your retirement.
Yeah. I thought he made a bunch of goofy jokes. Were you surprised to see that they were still married?
No.
And happily married? Oh.
No. I really thought their love was real. Mm-hmm. I really did in a weird way. Yeah. And then, and now seeing the real Milton and that he's not such a dork, then I think they have a good chance at long-term success. I mean, I don't know.
For sure. No, they seem really, really happy. I'm glad Lydia, of all the people who knew Lydia was going to be the little star, Lydia's going to get her happily ever after. And I also on Vulture, I read this article because they interviewed her, and she was talking about Uche and how that whole I see you thing, where she took the picture and I said, I see you. She said, we were hanging out. She said, she explains it. She was like, I was near his house and I was hanging out with friends, and I was, we had broken up, but things were kind of complicated. And I was texting him saying, hey, are you going to make it out? And they were going back and forth. And then she said she was really close to, the bar was really close to his house, and that she took a picture. Was like, oh, I see you. I'm like, oh my God, this Uche is, I don't know what the word is. He's like, what's the word? He's diabolical.
Yeah.
That he took, like, what was he doing? Was he like going through his entire relationship with Lydia going, okay, how can I spin this? How can I spin this?
He was collecting evidence.
Yeah. Yeah. But essentially collecting evidence, but lying about it. Like going to Milton saying, she took a picture of my house and she said, I see you. Like she was stalking me. It's like, hold on a second.
He's a weirdo. And he was obsessed with her. Yes. Because Milton says at the reunion that, when they were in the pods and everything, like, Uche was always prying, wanting to know, asking Milton, who are you talking to? And who do you like? And Milton said, I don't really want to talk about it. And he said he didn't respect his boundaries, and he just kept prying and prying. And then when he found out that it was Lydia, like, he just couldn't wait to weigh in on that. And then again at that pool party where he's trying to show Milton these texts and trying to show him all this stuff on his phone, and it's diabolical. And Milton's like, you know what? No, I don't want to see it. Leave me alone. He's trying to get away from him. And Uche just won't stop.
Yeah. No, he's relentless. Well, and also, the other thing that was kind of interesting is Lydia in this article was saying that she, asking about the whole Aaliyah thing and how she was giving Aaliyah a lot of information about Uche. And she said, what you don't see is a bunch of stuff got cut out. So that, they went back, they told all the girls reacted. Then she and Aaliyah sat down, and she said that Aaliyah did ask her some questions. Like Aaliyah was asking her things. And she said it was, I guess apparently the way I took it was that they kind of cut everything together. So it looked like she was rapid fire, like telling her so much, telling Aaliyah everything. But really she said it was more of this conversation of back and forth of, Aaliyah asking her questions and then, it made it look like, and she said, looking back on it, it was hard to see. She said, because I do realize like that wasn't very good, but it wasn't exactly, a situation that was probably over the span of a couple hours is drilled down into a 4-minute scene. So anywho.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely were trying to make Lydia out to be some sort of, Glenn Close, crazy person or something. I mean, yeah. And it's just not like that. Milton was not what he seemed. Neither was Lydia.
Yes. Yes. But you know what, Brooke, debt and bad credit are two different things. And Izzy wants you to know.
Well, doesn't one lead to the other? I mean,
yeah, he's just like, well, it wasn't like I was, in debt. It was just bad credit from being in debt.
Right. From not paying for
which
bills.
is debt. Because debt is owing somebody something. So yeah, that was your bad credit comes from, debt. You don't just get bad credit because
you did nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So I was just like, and that's when I was like, he still doesn't get it. He still does not. He really doesn't understand it.
No.
But, yeah. But I guess, I thought that they were going to date. I thought Stacy and Izzy would date after the wedding. but they didn't. I guess a week after the wedding, they got together again and kind of saw each other and maybe kissed or something, but she said no. I guess she said it was weird.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that he probably, I think maybe I don't know. Maybe she just felt like he's too hurt or something. I don't know.
Well, he said, I didn't want to start over. So she wanted to start over. Yeah, she was probably saying, look, like, let's start over here. Let's build up some trust. And he was like, why should I have to do that? We were all engaged and now you want me to like go backwards and have to. And it's like, yeah, Izzy, because you didn't prove yourself the first time.
Yeah.
So you're lucky she's giving you a chance to start over.
Well, and I think that's what it was she was sort of saying, which I agree with her. I think it makes Stacy's not my favorite person, but I do agree with her on these things where, it's true. They do need to start over. Like Izzy needs to ask her out on a date. They need to go to dinner. He needs to pick her up.
He needs to cook for her. Finally.
He needs to cook for her. They need to take it slow. They need to like get to know each other as people outside of all of this stuff and see if there's any there. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It was almost like it seemed too much work for him and I think that's one thing is I think Izzy doesn't like to be challenged too much. And he also doesn't I don't think he likes to be uncomfortable and he doesn't like to have to do a lot. He doesn't
like to have to deal with another person's wants, needs, feelings, thoughts. He wants something just real easy where he doesn't have to work at it. He's just lazy. He doesn't want to work at a relationship. He just wants an instant relationship and nobody can challenge him or, ask him to change because love should be enough, Isn't that enough that I love you?
Yeah. That's how egocentric he is, that he thinks that his love, being loved by him is enough. And that should be good enough for anybody.
Yeah.
Especially Stacy.
Now, I have to say, I'm not trying to be catty, but Stacy's dress.
Ugh, I hated it. And she's a Pilates instructor. She's got a good body. And I hated the dress.
Well, the dress just made her look completely flat chested. I mean, she does have boobs. I mean, they're not big, but that dress literally, the way it went across her boobs and it was pressing down, it literally looked like she had no boobs.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. When you pick out these dresses for these reunions, you really need to sit in them.
Sit down.
Yeah. And see what that looks like. Because I think the dress, like on a red carpet on somebody else,
it would have,
I think on somebody else and on a red carpet, I think you would be like, ooh, that's so cool. But here sitting down, I just kept thinking like, oh my God, we're going to see her boobs any moment now. She's going to lift up her arms and that whole thing's going to come flying up.
Same with Lydia's dress. She had a dress that looked like it was taped to her boobs and her boobs were showing. But yeah, sitting down, like if she kind of bent over a little, or it's like, oh my God, the whole dress is going to fall apart. Yeah. And her boobs are going to fall out. But if she's just standing on a red carpet and standing up straight, it would look really elegant. But
yeah, I did not. I really didn't like what Stacy was wearing. I liked Lydia's slightly bit more, but I don't know. Those kinds of dresses, the whole time, all I'm thinking is a boob going to pop out? Is a boob going to pop out?
I
know. So I guess then after Stacy and after Izzy said, no, we're not going to start over again, that they didn't talk for a year. And then ran into each other at a cooking class with other dates. Or no, first they saw each other at a bar. Right. Yeah. At a bar. And then they ran into each other at that, double date. And of course, so now both Izzy and Stacy are dating other people. They've moved on, both of them. So, yeah.
Yeah. So then we get Johnny and Chris.
Yes.
They're not together anymore. And
I did not like Johnny's dress was
look in comparison to Stacy's. And, it was a lot better. But so she went to she and Chris were dating, after the show.
And at that barbecue, which was her birthday. I think this happened right after this.
Oh, okay.
The barbecue, yeah.
She went to a wedding.
He went to a wedding.
Oh, I thought she went to a wedding.
No, he did.
And Chris started seeing someone else when she got back, and he had already started seeing someone. Anyway,
but didn't tell her. He didn't tell her. She talked about it. She said that they were dating. They were at the barbecue. It was her birthday. A couple days. They're great. Chris is defending everyone. I love this woman. And then a couple days later, he goes out of town for a wedding, comes back. She doesn't hear from him at all. Like, he ghosts her. And then she has to learn through someone else that he's now dating someone else. And now he's actually living with this woman now. But he never
really broke up with her.
He never bothered to break up with her.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I that was just like, Houston's a horrible, horrible place. This is the worst place
with these
ever.
People?
Because Chris, who seemed like a nice, decent person, he's one of those fake. He's like a fake nice guy type. He that's his whole persona. Izzy thinks he's a nice guy, but I think everyone knows, but Chris is worse because he really puts it on and then does crap like this. But I guess Johnny's dating someone now anyway. So
yeah. Well, and then they get back to the whole, Stacy, Johnny drama. And it's Stacy. I don't know why she's so obsessed with Johnny, but she's just droning on and on and on about how terrible Johnny is. And Johnny's just ignoring her. And she turns to Chris and they just start chatting.
Yeah.
They just start catching up with each other. And Vanessa's like, oh, what are you two talking about? She's like, oh, we're just catching up. I mean, they're just like ignoring Stacy as she just goes off for like 15 minutes about that. I mean, why do you care? Like, move on with your life. This was a year and a half ago. Like, who gives a shit?
Well, and that's the part that's really interesting about all of this is Stacy, you got the guy. But it's just like Uche, still obsessed, still like you ended things like you.
Right. And the guy wasn't that great.
Yeah. So what is the problem now? And it's a year and a half plus, we're a year and a half out from this. Like, you've had so much time to reflect and all of that. But Stacy's big complaint was that her thing was that Johnny made petty remarks about Stacy. And Johnny owns the fact that she said, yeah, I probably did, which I can think, she said, yeah, I did. But
so did Stacy. Stacy said a whole bunch of shit about Johnny.
I don't know. And then they played the tape. And was it just me, or the tape didn't solve anything for me per se? I was just kind of like, okay, they were all talking about like this conversation between Johnny and Chris and Izzy and Stacy. And then they're like, play the tape of how everyone arrived there. And it was just like, what is this? This didn't prove anything. Like, I would like to see maybe show me the tape of Johnny bad-mouthing Stacy. Let me hear exactly what it was. Did she say it to her face, or did she say it way over in the other corner and you happen to hear? Like, what is that?
Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
So Stacy is so offended. But Izzy does apologize to Johnny for his delivery, for the way he treated her a year ago. And then we find out that I guess another week shortly after the weddings, Izzy and Johnny ran into each other at a bar, talked for an hour, and then they kissed.
They made out in his Jeep. So the Jeep's good for something.
Yeah, that's why he bought the Jeep.
Yeah.
But that flabbergasted me because that shows you how shallow Izzy is.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was adamant about, he was telling everybody around them, this woman's awful. She's crazy. I'm so happy I didn't pick her. She's the worst, blah, blah, blah. And then Stacy breaks up with you. And then a week later, you're like, well, I'll make out with this person that I called like a psycho a month ago. You were yelling at her a month ago. Like,
what a douchebag.
I was just like, Houston, do better. This is not a good town.
Yeah. Well, and apparently Houston, it's just, I guess it is kind of a small town because these people, they just keep running into each other and,
kissing each other.
Two of them ended up on the show together. And
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Stacy did say that she was surprised that after everything he said that he would want to kiss Johnny.
Right.
And I think, again, that was another nail in the coffin for her of like, oh, thank God I saw this with this guy.
I dodged a bullet there.
Yes.
So then they brought Aaliyah back.
Oh, yeah. And she looked great. Thought she looked beautiful.
Great.
I loved her hair and I loved the champagne colored dress.
Yeah. And, we got to talk about, how terrible Uche is. And, she felt really, gypped, that she didn't get to have the true experience. And, then, Lydia tells her, she assures her that I had no idea that Uche was coming on the show. She said that I think this is what she said. She said that both Lydia and Uche had been contacted by casting. Because that's how they cast these shows.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. 'Cause Taylor, I think I heard Taylor say that. Oh, no, Renee said she was contacted by casting.
These casting people go on dating websites and they look for people who seem, attractive, educated, whatever, in an area, and then they contact them. So it's not like they both decided to apply or they both knew they had separately been contacted. But then I think they told each other, I was contacted too. But then they never talked about whether they got it or not, or they were going to be on the show. And I believe Lydia. Yeah. I believe that she was genuinely had no idea. And, she was just assuring
Aaliyah,
that this was not like something to hurt her. And, and they kind of aired their whatever. And I think everything is fine.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I think Lydia, both of them did, but I think Lydia handled this really well because she definitely took ownership of her part and said, what, I had the best intentions of all of this. I obviously didn't read the room very well when you were talking and saying that I couldn't hear it. And she owns that part of it and just says, that wasn't what I, wanted to do. And then Aaliyah kept bringing up this whole thing. Apparently, Lydia said something about, I feel like I might see someone from my past or something there. And that's why everyone kept thinking that she, of course, Uche held on to that one, that's why she was, plotting to get there at the same time. But
and I think
maybe
because
she has a sixth sense.
Well, that's what she said. She said it occurred to her once she got there. She kind of occurred to her. She's like, wait a minute. I don't know. I know Uche was contacted by casting, but I don't know if he got it or not. And there is if they were both contacted, then there is a chance that he could be there. And maybe she did have a little bit of a sixth sense or something. And I probably would too. I'd be like, oh gosh, I hope.
I hope Uche's not here.
Yeah, I hope Uche's
I think people say that all the time.
That's the common reaction.
Yeah. I think, I hope, this is what everyone utters. I hope Uche's not here. God, Uche. Ugh.
Yeah. So then they start this big round of Uche bashing where,
And you know what? You can see that Vanessa Lachey also doesn't like Uche.
Yeah, no, she loved this part. She's like, let's take a look at the last time each one of you spoke to Uche. Right. So they play the tape of the last time Uche sitting across the table from all of these people with that diabolical look on his face, with that like intense. He has such an intense, the way he talks, it's so intense. And it's like he's just trying so hard to control his anger. He's talking in this low, he's talking in a very angry tone, but it's not a yelling angry tone. It's like a controlled, like right here, monotone, but it's the energy of it is so angry.
Yes.
And so vindictive. And he scares me.
He is very scary.
Yeah.
He is very, very scary because he obviously proved to everybody here that he is willing to take information and lie about it. And that
spread around information that he shouldn't be.
I'm constantly amazed by people who take information and then, flat out, I guess, just flat out lie and twist it and lie about it. It's so dangerous. It's so, so dangerous. And, I just, God, that guy scares the crap out of me. Yeah.
Yeah. And, and again, Aaliyah has moved on. She met some guy on a cruise
and an R&B cruise.
Yeah.
So,
she went by himself. Maybe I need to go on an R&B cruise.
Yeah. Well, did we talk about because I thought all this stuff was interesting because was it Lydia that was talking about this, was how this all came to be? Because I guess once Uche and Lydia realized that they knew each other, the producers originally wanted to send both of them home. And so they told both of them independently, this is what Lydia says, independently, we told the producers we would not ruin the experiment as long as you don't reveal the past relationship. And then once Lydia developed feelings for someone, Milton, she then agreed with the producers that she could then share this info anytime. And then I think I think maybe Uche got the same thing. And that's when Uche decided, okay, I'm going to reveal this. So, and that's what Vanessa asks her, like, do you regret the way the producers handled it? Which I don't know. There's no good way of dealing with this. I mean, especially when you got Uche, he's such a monster.
Yeah, he's going to ruin everything no matter what you do, which he pretty much did.
But Aaliyah says that she would have liked to have known ahead of time because she would have distanced herself from Lydia. Yeah. I mean, she would have done it differently. But I guess in the end, it seems like Aaliyah believed him. And trust me, I'm surprised Aaliyah never said it, but like, if I was Aaliyah, I'd be like, I watched the tapes. I dodged a bullet.
Yeah. She should be happy. Should be happy that didn't work out.
Yeah. But Milton then defends Lydia, saying, and then talking about what you were talking about earlier about how Uche was obsessed with Lydia and what she was doing in the pods and that he didn't respect Milton's boundaries, all that kind of stuff. So you're like, okay, good for you, Milton.
Yeah. And they said they invited Uche to come on the show, but smartly he declined because it wouldn't have been good for him.
It wouldn't have been good for him, but I think that it's very, very telling. Like, you have no qualms sitting any of these people down, telling them how you feel, but when you know that you might get some shit coming your way, you're gone. You're out of there.
Yeah. Well, and then they all said that he texted Aaliyah, Lydia, and Milton. Was it all on the
I think
same
it was
day?
Aaliyah.
Or?
No, it was. So he texted Aaliyah and Lydia probably around the same time when the show premiered, saying, "Hey, I'm watching the show tonight. I'm around if you want to talk."
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, like, what to do? What? Like, of course, so that he can come back and lecture them again. Yeah. And then he messaged Milton on his wedding day saying, not saying, "Congratulations, so happy for you." It was like, "So I heard you got married."
Yeah, he said, and let me know if you want to talk about it.
Let me know if you want to talk to me. It's like, no
one wants to talk to you, Uche. None of them responded to your text. Go away.
Yeah. Oh, and the other thing that he said too was that he said to Aaliyah when they were dating, because after the show they did date for a little bit, and apparently he told her that she's not someone he's normally attracted to.
Oh my God.
I'm like, oh, fuck you, Uche.
Well, then why are you out on a date?
Gorgeous.
Well, then why are you out on a date with her?
Yeah. So the first Lydia, I mean, this guy just is a goddamn monster.
He's never going to be able to get a date again unless, there's someone out there.
Oh, no. Listen, people are dating Bartice. People are dating Shake.
Are they?
Bartice had a baby.
Yeah, but from a one night stand, not a relationship.
I don't know. I assume accident. Shake and Bartice and some of these other people are, listen. OJ has girlfriends. I mean, always a woman out there.
Who has
OJ Simpson?
Oh, OJ. Yeah. Well, yeah, true.
Scott Peterson, doesn't he have a girlfriend or a wife?
I'm sure people are writing to him night and day. Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's some woman out there that's like, oh, Uche is so complicated.
He's misunderstood.
So complicated and he's misunderstood. And,
okay,
and then,
so
hold on. And then did Uche, because I guess apparently even Izzy hated Uche. Because I guess Uche talked poorly about Izzy behind his back. Apparently, Uche was talking crap about him.
Nobody liked him. Not a single person.
Yes.
Not a single person.
Yeah. No, they all hated him. I felt like that segment could have gone on longer because I could sit there and talk about how much I hate Uche
You were enjoying
all
that
day long.
Well, it was a little bit like beating a dead horse. Like everyone
Yes.
agrees. We got to move on. So then we get JP and Taylor
Oh
back.
God, wearing
God.
his red, white, and blue socks. Of
Yeah,
course,
Taylor looked
JP.
gorgeous.
Oh my God, she looked the
dress.
best.
Yeah, she did.
I loved the dress. I loved her hair. I was like, whoa. I
Yeah.
said that audibly when she walked out. I thought she looked incredible.
She did. She looked like a golden statue or something.
She did.
But yeah, again, I still don't understand JP.
No.
I never will. And he really had no good explanation. I think the guys just... I can't believe they cast him.
Yes,
what did they
exactly
see
what I
in
was going
him?
to say.
Because normally to get cast on a reality show, you have to be a dynamic person, or otherwise you're boring.
Yeah,
you have to have something about you that will attract people, attract attention, and he just has nothing. The casting, I think I blame casting for this whole season. They did a terrible job. He never should have been cast.
Yeah. I didn't understand that either, because you're absolutely right that yes, you're looking for single people in Houston, but you also are looking for personalities. And he obviously was very, very, I think probably a more introverted, quiet person, but he also is obviously the cameras, he gets very camera shy. So he talked about that. There were all these cameramen in the room, and then this happened, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, yeah. Like, you
what did you
to be
think
on this
was gonna
reality
happen?
show? Like, you kind of had to loosen up a little bit here.
Yeah.
And I heard Renee talk about this too, because I guess Renee and Taylor were friends, and Carter and JP are friends. And apparently Renee thought JP was a dud. And told Taylor that. But Taylor was like, no, we have a great relationship. We're great. We're wonderful, blah, 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 blah. And then, but she wasn't surprised. Renee said she wasn't surprised how it all turned out because it was such a mess. But he still can't. You've had a year and a half, JP, a year and a half to process this. You still can't succinctly tell us what the problem is. I mean, I think Taylor finally says it, which is, I don't think he was attracted to me. You know, and it was just like, he won't own the fact that, you know what, she's just not my type. I wasn't attracted to her, and I couldn't figure out how to become more attracted to her.
Or do you think maybe he was intimidated by her looks because she is very like classically American blonde, attractive? Because remember, Nick and Vanessa were kind of trying to drill down on this, and they were asking him, well, would you approach her at a bar? Or is she? And he's like, I don't know. Usually my friends talk to them first, and then I come in. It's like, no, that's not what they're getting at.
Yeah, that's not the question.
That's not the question. And then they're like, well, does she look like anyone you've ever dated before? And I think what they were trying to get at was that he's never been with a woman that hot. You know?
You think?
Yeah. I think that she's like way out of his league, and he was just too intimidated by that. And, you know, I don't know if the thing about the makeup had any basis in reality, or if that's something he just said. I don't know. That doesn't make sense. I just think he was intimidated, and he too says he's been in a relationship now for a year. I'd be curious to see what this girl looks like.
Oh God. Yeah. Did she wear a bunch of red, white, and blue stuff? I mean, were they together on January 6th? Like, what is happening with these two?
Yeah. Did they go to CPAC together? I mean, you know, what's happening?
God. Yeah. Yeah. I know. I wrote that down too. JP shouldn't be on TV.
No, never again.
No,
it's one of the worst casting decisions in television history.
Yeah. And obviously, you know, what's been interesting about the past seasons is how many, if you start with 15 and 15, right? You start with 30 people, and that in the past, they've been able to get at least 4 or 5 couples, even more.
You don't see.
Yeah. And so here you do this, and you get down to, you get down to 2. and kind of like a third and that doesn't even work. And then, you know, like, and another one that's you're not even going to cover. I just thought that was weird. Like there was something, you're absolutely right. And I wonder if it's the same casting people or if they pick new casting people each time they move to a new city.
Yeah, maybe.
If they get like a local casting director to do it or do some of the research. But I would be very curious to see if they're going to start asking people to list out who are the last 5 people you dated or the last 10 people. Just give us their names so that if there's any overlap.
No overlap. Yeah. We don't want this happening again.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think the whole thing I think that the Uche Lydia thing would have worked if it wasn't Uche. I think that if it was Lydia and someone else, I think they could have made that work. It was just Uche who made the whole situation so god awful. So anyway, and that was that pretty much. Taylor's dating someone now. So yeah, everybody has moved on. Everybody. So I guess, you know, in Houston, you're never lonely very long because there's always someone right around the corner for you.
Yeah. You might have dated them or their brother, sister, or something, but you know, they're there.
They're out there
ready to date.
Yes. So, and that's it. That's a wrap on Love is Blind season 5. It was a short season, went by real quick.
Yeah. Well, who knows when this will come out again? They take so long to produce these shows, you know, a year and a half, 2 years.
Well, but if they've got another in the can, right?
Yeah,
like, because obviously they're recording, like doing these pretty quickly. So, and we had a Love is Blind earlier this year. This is the second one this year, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was like the fall of last year when it was. It was like 10 or 11 months ago or something.
Okay.
Or actually maybe exactly a year. So
yeah. So we're going to have to wait for another year for Love is Blind.
Oh gosh.
Wherever they're going.
Where will we be in a year?
Juneau, Alaska. Anchorage.
Maybe San Francisco.
Oh God. That would be interesting if they did San Francisco.
Yeah,
it would be interesting. Yeah. Anyway. All right. Well, anything else to report on the world of that was my hot take, my hot gossip on Chris's father, who's a crook.
Yeah. Well, no, I have nothing more Love is Blind related, but you know, I don't know if you're interested in this, maybe for a future podcast, but have you heard anything about the Jada Pinkett Smith book?
I've heard way too much about it. And I'm going to tell you right now, Jada, shut up. I am so sick of her.
I'm finding it fascinating.
Ugh. I cannot.
All right, well, I guess you're not going to read the book.
No. I mean, I just read a brief review about it, and this person was just rolling their eyes about how she is insufferable. I find both of them insufferable. It's like, Jada, enough. We heard you. We got it. Well, like, I don't care. Like what drives me crazy is I really feel like she and Will put themselves up on this very special pedestal that they're very, 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 very special people. And, you know, because they're celebrities, they are special. And they've gotten into their heads that just because you're famous means that doesn't also mean that you're smart and wise and, you know, need to tell people what to do with their lives. And she's just, I don't know. I just find the comments and the interviews that I've seen, it's exhausting with the two of them. Just exhausting. Like, I don't care anymore. And you know, I don't care.
All right. Well, never mind.
I would do the Britney Spears book before I would do Jada's.
Well, you know, okay, to be fair, this is her memoir. So it's not her and Will. This is her life story.
Yes.
And it's her journey. And she has the right to tell it. Yeah. And, you know,
she does.
She has had to, because of, you know, everything you just said, she has had to keep a lot of things to herself. She hasn't really been able to share stuff. And, you know, when I first heard the book was coming out, I had the same kind of reaction, like, oh, really? Like, but this book is really not about all the stuff that we already know or we think they know. Do you know who Jay Shetty is?
Yeah, I saw her on. I get very frustrated with Jay Shetty because the guy was a monk and now what? He's some sort of guru. It's like, ugh.
No, he's no different than Brene Brown or any of these people.
No, he is different than Brene Brown. Brene Brown is educated. She has a master's degree, a PhD. She's a researcher. She's been researching, these subjects for 20 some odd years. That's very different than someone that was once a monk.
So being a monk, it has no value, educational, spiritual.
It has some value. I just don't think it has as much value as how much people think this guy is so great. That's all.
Okay. Well, anyway,
she was on his show.
I don't regularly listen to him, but she does. He has a podcast and she was on his podcast. It was a 3-hour podcast. 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to it all.
Oh, wow.
And it was very interesting. And it was a side of her and things about her that this is very different. This isn't your normal Will and Jada Smith gossip, rumor mill, whatever, this or that. She has a whole nother life we don't know about. She has a whole nother side to her and a journey that she's been on, all this kind of stuff that we don't even know about.
Mm-hmm.
And it was made me curious, honestly, to know more. So I might get the audiobook. I can't actually read a book anymore because I read all day for work, but I might get the audiobook and listen to it. But this isn't everyone. Yeah, no, people have very strong feelings about this. But I know it's her story, and I've heard her on Howard Stern, and she talked a lot about Tupac and her relationship on Stern. I mean, some of these things that she talked about, I'd heard her talk about before. And, yeah, I mean, I'm with you. And I think it's not a typical memoir. And just from the excerpts and the things that I've seen, I'm not my cup of tea. Well, even just the stuff about Tupac, like the rumors that I always heard and went around were that somehow her and Tupac were romantically involved, and that, I always assumed that the way that people talked about their relationship, they weren't. It was completely platonic.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. There's just a lot. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and people think they know her story or think they know her, think they know these people, but we don't.
No,
we don't know.
No, listen. The more and more, every time something out about something where someone, is a grifter or a liar, I'm constantly reminded, like, we really don't know people. We really don't know. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors in people's lives. It's just, oof. You think you do, but you don't.
No, we don't. We don't know anything about these celebrities.
No.
At all.
No, we don't.
So anyway, we will not be talking about that.
Sorry, Brooke.
Don't worry.
Well, maybe there's people out there that want to cover it. But if you want to read the book and do a book report, I'll listen to it.
No, that's all right.
All right.
I don't have time for all that.
Okay. All right, fine.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in to wrap up Love is Blind.
Yes.
If you like our podcast, please subscribe. We are going to be we're continuing our Sister Wives season 18 coverage that comes out on Tuesdays.
Oh, yeah. This week was a doozy. Oof, boy.
Yeah. Go back and listen if you missed it, because it was quite an episode.
Yeah.
And Thursdays, we're doing, now that Love is Blind is over, we have some documentaries, and I don't know what else we're going to do. Stay tuned.
Yes.
And find out. And please.
Definitely not Jada Pickens.
No.
Worthy.
Don't worry. Don't get scared.
Or any other books, because Brooke's not reading.
Well, no, I listen to books on Audible.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I don't read them. So, where was I? Okay. So also follow us on social media, TikTok and Instagram at Psych Legal Pop. And I think that's it.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
Subscribe, spread the word. I think that's it. All right.
Okay. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong. Newsflash,
I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
Give me a mountain with lots to do. Give me the sunshine, give me a dew. Give me something simple and true. All I need is sunshine and a cool, refreshing mountain dew. So give me my good friends, give me a dew.
Grab some friends and an ice cold Mountain Dew today.
Mountain Dew.